From the Subaru of Gwinnett Studio, welcome to Celebrating Powerhouse Women. Celebrating Powerhouse Women is proudly presented by CAB Incorporated and Capital City Home Loans.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Celebrating Powerhouse Women. I am your host, Amanda Pearch, and this is the series that salutes and recognizes women leaders making an impact in our community. Today, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome our guest, Ashley Hamilton, the Tournament Director for Mitsubishi Electric Classic. Those of you local here to the Gwinnett area might be familiar with the PGA Tour Champions takes over here in June, wasn't it? In May, excuse me, I just remembered it was like around Father's Day. And it's quite the to-do, and we're going to learn a little bit about Ashley's participation in that amazing event. Welcome to the show, Ashley.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So share with our listeners a little bit about what you do as the tournament director for those that might not be familiar with everything that goes into all of the planning.
Sure. So we do just about everything. I do just about everything. I have a team of 5, and we work on this event year-round. It does take us all 365 days, and we would take a few more if we could have them. But we do everything from planning the timelines, lining up the vendors, purchasing all of the different equipment and things that you see on the course, the layout of the course, just about everything that goes on with it. We work closely with TBC Sugarloaf and their team, their golf team, their staff there, but then also our counterparts at the PGA Tour advise and help us along the way as well. But it's a big team effort, but it does take the full year to pull off.
And there's so much that goes into the planning. I had the great pleasure, thank you kindly for hooking me up with some tickets and participating in several of the events that go on throughout the week. So let's just share a little bit about kind of the timeline. You kicked it off with, was the Executive Women's Day the kickoff?
Executive Women's Day was the kickoff for our event. So Monday of tournament week, we had Executive Women's Day and actually the Stewart Sink Monday Pro-Am presented by Transamerica going on simultaneously. So something for the ladies, something for the men and ladies. We had some ladies out there as well. But 2 big events kicking off our tournament week. It was a really big Monday for us. We had about 200 ladies participating in Executive Women's Day, about 100 golfers out on the golf course with the Stewart Sink event. So that was just Monday. And then Tuesday leading into the Pro-Ams, we have our kickoff party. We hosted that this year at the Gas South Convention Center, or Gas South District Convention Center. So that is where we release our pairings for the Wednesday and Thursday Maxwell Leadership Pro-Am. That takes place all day Wednesday and Thursday, so about 400 golfers come through. Teams of 4 have an opportunity to have a round of golf with a PGA Tour champion. Ooh. So they get to play with one of the professionals, full round of golf. Food all over the course, food and drink, gifts, the whole 9 yards, pictures, awards, everything that goes into those events. That's all day Wednesday, Thursday, and then really on Friday, the tour takes over, and that's when competition starts. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday competition rounds beginning around 10:30 each day. We have a 2T start, so they start off both 10 and 1, and we play all day long.
And you're busy as a bee, you and your team. I had the great fortune of participating in Executive Women's Day, and you lined up a panel of phenomenal women who got to just share their time, treasures, and talents with all of the ladies who participated. And I can only imagine from an event planning standpoint how much goes into not only planning the event but actually finding the people that you want to participate. So some of the ladies that you had join as the panelists were very high caliber. Simply getting in touch with them, and I'm sure with the golfers as well. And you're so cute because you're wearing your golf attire, and then you ran and you flipped into like a beautiful ball gown and then came back out and spoke and then flipped back into your golf attire. I can imagine that it's a pretty sleepless week.
It is. That leading up to it is sleepless as well. There's probably about 4 weeks where it's just everything is work, and luckily my husband keeps everything running at home and me going in the right direction. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's a full week. We really look forward to, or this year we were looking forward to Friday when kind of the tour takes over and competition starts a little bit later in the day. But this year we had some weather, so instead of 10:30 tee times, we had 7 o'clock tee times, and we didn't get that morning to sleep
Yeah.
in on Friday, but it's all in a day's work. It's 1 week out of the year that we plan for and we work so hard for. It's kind of our Super Bowl or Christmas of the year, if you look at it that way.
Exactly.
And it's exciting and exhausting all at the same time.
I have two logistical questions, and then I want to talk about who benefits from the proceeds,
Sure.
because that's also an amazing accomplishment for you guys. But when I was on the course, I noticed boats in the water, but there's no way the boats could get there per se. So share, how did you get the boats in the water for display? I'm thinking like a crane or like a truck, or do tell.
So we have a sponsor, Singleton Marine, and One Marina. They come in and they have through their sponsorship, they have some boat displays, and some of those boat displays are in water, and the bodies of water at TBC Sugarloaf are not for boating. So
Right.
there are no boat docks, like you said. There are no ramps. There's not an easy way to get those boats in the water. So what we do is we crane them in. We have a crane company that comes in, and they put them in the water overnight from Sunday to Monday between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. because we have to shut some roads down within the
Right.
neighborhood. And they bring the boats in, they stage the boats, and the crane comes in, gets set up, and then they crane the boats into the water. And then we do on the same on the out. They come
Yeah.
in, overnight, Sunday after play, get the boats out, and they go back to the marina. So
Amazing.
they are craned in, and it's overnight. So those are, talk about tournament week, going into tournament week, Sunday into Monday. We're not sleeping, getting ready for Monday morning. We're putting boats in the water at 3 a.m.
Yes. I know with the young professionals, we also got to enjoy the 18th hole, the beautiful, what was that called?
In the 18th green skyboxes.
Yes, skyboxes. And we got to have a nice mixer overlooking the course. And it was just beautiful. But something as simple as the, awning or the tent or the canopies and the staging, that's all done by hand. People are physically going in and bringing all of this in. Obviously, you guys have a vendor. It's not your team that's out there like legit setting up all these platforms and stuff. So break that down a little bit. Is that like a 1 or 2 day thing? Is that all one team? They set it up at all the holes?
It is. It's two separate teams. So we have a team that comes in and builds the understructures. So that's all of the what you don't see, really, because it all gets covered up with some mesh and things that look a little bit prettier than rebar and planking.
Right, and the skirting and all that, yeah.
Yes. So, but they start about 3 weeks out. So just in the beginning of April, they come in, and the platform company puts all of the platforms up all around the course, and then we have a tenting company that comes in after them that adds the awnings and the tent tops and the carpeting and railings and bar rail and chairs, and we own some of the items. We have a barn off site that we keep a lot of stored items. So all of the red stools that you see, we have 70 plus of those that we keep in a barn. We keep all of our signage on site, but we have an entire signage team that comes in, and they're here for 3+ weeks as well. They're printing us our new signs. They're adding the sponsor logos that we've added in the past year. They're installing all of the signage around the course, all of those things. But we have great vendors. We've had them year after year. We try to stay with the same vendors, so there is some familiarity with the course and things like that. We always have to check water lines and things like that just to make sure we're not hitting anything under the ground as we're digging into the ground. But for the most part, they can be relatively self-sufficient once they're on site, and we scout everything out with them.
Is there any damage done to the course, like after all the traffic and after all the things that you just mentioned, like the installations? Do you guys have to do any type of repair to the greens or to any of the foliage?
Not too much. You may see some brown spots. You can see where some of the footings are from the structures, things of that nature, but nothing major. You can definitely tell that there was something sitting there, but it doesn't look like a construction zone.
Okay. And so I just saw, and congratulations, I saw the celebration announcement on LinkedIn with you and your team. So those of you who don't know, all proceeds from this tournament, 100% minus the cost of putting it on, go to charity.
Correct.
And you guys, I'll let you elaborate on the dollar amount that you guys achieved and also the recipient.
Yeah. So we have two primary benefiting charities in Special Needs Schools of Gwinnett and Children's Healthcare of Atlanta that we donate majority of our proceeds to. But then we also have a few other fundraising avenues and charitable programs with the tournament. One is the Birdies for Charity program, which is a fundraising and matching donation program. So in total this year, we were able to donate $558,270.
Wow.
Which puts us in totality over the 10 years that we have been in Gwinnett County since 2013, the inception of the tournament, puts us at over $3.6 million donating back into the county.
That's amazing.
So
it gave me goosebumps. What a wonderful, wonderful achievement. And I know that's just heartwarming for you. I know we have a special love for Special Needs School of Gwinnett.
Yes.
We featured Mr. Hamilton a couple of times as well. So what goes into selecting the charities? Obviously, there's a lot of people that would like to benefit. How do you kind of select Birdies for Charity? And
so our primary charities have been with us for quite some time. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, dating back even into the Bell South Classic days when the PGA Tour event was here previously. So our relationship with them has been strong since the beginning. Special Needs Schools of Gwinnett came about more recently, and that actually came through our title sponsor in Mitsubishi Electric. They have a connection to Special Needs Schools of Gwinnett, and when they came on as our title sponsor, they kind of put them up for nomination for us to adopt them as a second benefiting charity. So
fantastic.
That is where those charities came from. And then the Birdies for Charity program similarly as well. We have right now 7 or 8 charities each year annually that do some fundraising, and then through those fundraising dollars that they raise, we put back a matching dollar amount to them. So
nice.
If they're able to raise $50,000,
you match it.
We match up to 10% depending on the financials of the year, and we'll give them a check back for the $50,000 plus whatever we're able to match. So through that program, we've done a lot of good as well.
Absolutely.
And just adds to that total number.
Well, I'm going to share a little bit about your background, because all of this planning and all of this manifesting of fantastic, community efforts, you do have a little bit of a history with event management, and you spent some time as the director of the First Tee of West Virginia, as the director of special events for the Greenbrier and the Greenbrier Classic. Share a little bit about that, because it's a unique story how you, and if you don't mind me saying, Jamie, who is your husband for those who don't know, kind of met, but beyond that, how you and some of your team members kind of came to Georgia together, or one came and you followed, vice versa.
Sure.
Outline that, because that's a really unique story.
Sure. So I from out of school, I was at Nemacolin Woodlands Resort doing some event planning. Actually started in weddings, and that's where I got my feet wet. Did weddings at a few other resorts in Virginia before moving to West Virginia. Actually, in that move as well, following a mentor of mine from Nemacolin to West Virginia. So that is how I got to West Virginia, was through a mentor connection and someone reaching out and saying, "Hey, I have this job. Want you to come look at it." My husband and I met at the Greenbrier Resort, and we had met once before on property there, but we officially met, I guess you could say, was at my first special event that I was putting together for the resort, and it was a prize fight for Evander Holyfield and Sherman the Tank Williams. Ooh. It was pay-per-view, so we had pay-per-view there. Everything was televised, and fortunately, our relationship lasted longer than the fight, because the fight only went 2 rounds. And out of that fight, he was one of my volunteers. He was on the VIP platform, and at the end of the fight, after it ended abruptly, we were the last 2 left in the ballroom cleaning up the VIP platform, and the rest is history. So we have been together ever since, and that was in January of 2011. So that's how we met. And then he was at the time in golf at the Greenbrier, the associate director of golf. And through that, I don't have a golf background. It wasn't a sport that I played growing up, that we watched on TV growing up, anything of the nature. My family wasn't involved in it, but through him, began to learn the game, had interest in the game. There were 2 events that we would host annually at the Greenbrier that were golf pro-ams, one with Tom Watson and one in honor of Sam Snead, who was the golf professional emeritus at the Greenbrier for a long time. So there were 2 golf events that we had done, and then obviously the PGA Tour event, the Greenbrier Classic, when it was hosted at the Greenbrier, we worked on. And I worked for the hotel and the resort, I was more on the event activation side for the tournament team. So when they needed to, book a party or something of that nature, they came through me, and my hat was on the resort side. So that was my initial involvement with the tournament team. It wasn't until 2013 or 2014 that I asked for a seat at that table and wanted to be on their team. And we were able to make it work, so I became a hybrid employee where I worked half of the year with the tournament class or the tournament team and half the year for the resort, available to both all year round, but kind of my focus was half and half. From there, I met the tournament director, Monty Ortel, who many of you know is now here in Georgia, and he is really the reason that we came down to Georgia when he left the Greenbrier in 2016. He spent 3 years trying to get my husband and I to come down to Georgia with him to work on this event with him. It didn't work until October of 2019, so that's when we were able to make the move. My husband had gotten out of golf, was working in a nonprofit space. I was working with the First Tee of West Virginia. I'd left the Greenbrier at the end of 2016, had been working with the First Tee of West Virginia since then. And then we were able to make the move in end of 2019.
2019.
So
that was from you guys. Was Jamie also from Pennsylvania?
He's
originally?
not. He's from
Okay.
Maryland. He went to school in Pennsylvania, but he's from Maryland.
So connect those dots. You from Pennsylvania, him from Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
and you guys met in
We met in West Virginia.
In West Virginia.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's rewind a little bit, and because I could talk to you about golf all day long. And how awesome is that you weren't really a golfer, but now you're ensconced in it daily. So I'm sure you're able to play nine holes.
Nine
or
holes.
Yeah, best ball. That's what I can do. Play best ball. But you
Yes.
definitely look the part. Share with us a little bit about kind of growing up in Pennsylvania and leading up into going to West Virginia.
Sure. So growing up in Pennsylvania, as I said, not a golfer, but played sports growing up. Wanted to be in a sports-related field. I started my schooling at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh when I moved out west in the state as an athletic training major. And I hung on to that for as long as I could, even though I knew it was the wrong decision. I changed my major the spring of my junior year, and was able to graduate 2 years later with a business degree in marketing and sports marketing.
Cool.
So from there, it was more of an event planning track, but that was before event planning was
A thing. Yeah.
or a major or something you could really dive into in school. We had just, I think I was in a pilot class for like a sports event management or something in my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
As I was, finishing my degree. It was just kind of coming online. Didn't really know that this was something. And that's really how I fell into weddings, out of school was, that was my vision of event planning.
Mm-hmm.
And then, coming to see what was going on with the Greenbrier, and that's why when I went to the Greenbrier was more of a large scale events on the resort's behalf. So
Right.
I've worked on everything, and this goes back to I'm not a golfer, but I run a golf tournament. I've run everything from National Ice Carving Association events to we filmed a episode of The Bachelorette at the Greenbrier that I was a part of. We filmed an entire season of the Golf Channel's Big Break.
Wow.
That we were a part of. So we did some reality shows. We did a full production for Mrs. America, which I didn't even know Mrs. America was a thing
Right.
until then. We did some other state
Right, I only heard of
pageants.
Miss. You're
Yeah,
right. Yep.
yeah. There's a
Misses.
Mrs.
Uh-huh.
There's an entire organization that focuses on the Misses. So
Mhm.
we hosted the Mrs. America pageant once at the Greenbrier. So I've done a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
We built a tennis stadium. John McEnroe and Pete Sampras, all those guys the Williams sisters have been there for exhibitions. So I've done a little bit of everything in the event planning and sport, world. So to come, down to Georgia now, be involved with the sports commission and what we're doing there, and even the tournament, it's
Natural
more
transition.
it's more event planning
Mhm.
and organization and those sorts of things, and not. You don't get into golf to play golf. You don't get into golf. You may love golf, and that's why you think you want to go into golf. But doing what I do, I mean, I could translate to any sport. I could go
Yeah.
to baseball or hockey or
Mhm.
football. It's more event planning and,
Yeah.
and how I see it.
Well, you hit the nail right on the head because I was going to ask you about organization. So obviously it takes a lot of planning in what you do.
Mhm.
And I imagine that there's a lot of strategy and a lot of pre-con, post-con, getting in touch with all these people. Is BEOs a term that you use in your world? Like back in the day,
it is. Yes.
Back in the hotel days, yeah.
For our catering event orders, yep.
BEOs.
Mm-hmm.
So share with our listeners a little bit about how you remain sane and what you do to stay organized. Because myself, look, I'm looking at your beautiful notes and you see me, I'm squirrely whirly over here, but it makes sense to me. So how are you able to organize all the things that you need to do in your personal and professional life, and then also disseminate that to your team in order to have success?
It's interesting you asked this. We had someone new start on the team earlier this week, so we're kind of breaking it down right now, and her and I are going event by event and, looking at each event and everything that goes into each event so that she can learn and translate and pick things up. But spreadsheets are my best friend. I honestly believe there's nothing that a spreadsheet can't solve.
Excel
spreadsheets, yes. I very much organize my thoughts in bullet and like outline form. And I also use a lot of color coding in stoplights, so red, yellow, green, finished, in progress.
Like literally like the color of your pen or like a highlighter or what?
Not so much pens and highlighters, but in Excel.
Okay, yes.
The cells get colored, red, yellow, green. Yeah. So, either not done or canceled in red, yellow in progress, and green is good to go.
Yeah.
So a lot of color coding, a lot of just spreadsheets, outlines, lists, schedules. We have calendars. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many calendars I have. I always have a calendar somewhere, whether it's the calendar in the phone, the calendar in my notebook, the calendar on the wall, the calendar with these deadlines, that deadline. So, there's a lot of different strategies, and sometimes I feel like I'm duplicating efforts, but it all works because it works for different aspects of whatever I'm kind of tackling and looking at and how I'm looking at it.
Would you say that organizational quality kind of is something that comes naturally to you, or is it something that was learned and you had to kind of, put into motion because of what you do?
It's very natural to me. If I did something, there's two other things that I would do in life that if I had the day to like go do something else. Airports fascinate me.
Ooh, like people watching? Or
well, yes, people watching,
of course.
The logistics of it, like to sit up in the little tower and like watch like what little space the planes go in and when they're going. I know it's a very stressful job. They say it's very, very high stress.
Like an air traffic controller?
Yep. Yeah, like deciding what gate that plane, if there's a gate change, like how does that now affect all of the things afterwards. And then the other, the other would be to go organize with Home Edit.
Home Edit?
Oh,
Home Edit.
The Home Edit. The rainbow color cording. It's a whole, Google it. There's a Netflix show. There's books. A little bit of everything.
Tell me that after the show so I can check it out. Well, that's very interesting because that doesn't come naturally to everybody. So obviously, what you do, you're tapping into, your strengths. Now, just out of curiosity, with your husband, are you guys like-minded in that regard, or is it, kind of yin and yang?
We are both type A. But we do complement each other because there are things that I can let go that I know that he will pick up, and he's vice versa.
Good for you
So
guys.
while we both can be very set in our ways, we both are also able to let go certain things and know the other one will
to have your back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We don't need to both be involved in everything. I do the banking.
Oh. And didn't you share with me that he's a phenomenal chef?
Yeah. He does the cooking.
Meal preparation.
Yep.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And very cool quality for a fella, I must say. Kudos, Jamie.
Wonderful.
Ashley, we're going to take a really quick break and have a word from our sponsors. But when we come back, we're going to talk about your doggos. All right. Since 1982, CAB Incorporated has been a distinguished leader in manufacturing and global sourcing, serving a variety of industries, including infrastructure, hydraulics, automotive, and rail, with their precision machined iron and steel products. As a woman-owned company, CAB Incorporated is proud to be a returning partner of the Celebrating Powerhouse Women series. With strong roots in the past and firm footing in the future, Capital City Home Loans combines an old-fashioned sense of community with a progressive attitude. They are a trusted full-service lender, offering mortgage finance products and empowering their associates to help clients choose the best options. They are focused on being the best and strongest lender in the Southeast. Visit cchl.com/locations to see all of their offices, including Gwinnett. All right, welcome back. For those of you who are just joining us, I am speaking with Ashley Hamilton, the tournament director for Mitsubishi Electric Classic, and we are having lots of fun here learning about sports and all kinds of organizational and fun things. I know before the break I mentioned we were going to touch on your puppers, but we're going to rewind just a second because during the break you were sharing with me a really exciting and funny story. So one of my questions was going to be to you, as you have exposure to many athletes and just lots of cool people, who one of the coolest people you have met has been. And you shared with me an interesting story about Evander Holyfield. So share that little funny nugget with our listeners.
Sure. So as I was saying earlier, my first event at the Greenbrier Resort was this Evander Holyfield and Sherman, the Tank Williams prize fight that we hosted in one of our ballrooms. And our team had a question that...
Wait a minute. They converted the ballroom into a boxing ring?
Yes. So
wow.
if you think about it, and it was actually the same companies that we used for the golf tournament, which is the company we use here. They came in and we designed a stadium seating. I talked about the VIP platform.
Right.
That was all done through one of those same companies. And then we had the boxing ring brought in. We had aerial artists hanging from the ceiling.
Wow.
It was a production.
I
mean, it was a production. It would be very similar to if you went out to Vegas and, where you see a lot of those MMA and some of the fights being done. We did the same thing in one of our ballrooms.
Wow. I apologize for interrupting.
That's okay.
I was trying to picture it in my mind. Continue with Evander.
Yeah. So our team had a question that involved Evander, and I went to his agent and asked him the question. And he said, "Oh, well, Evander's in the spa. You can just go ask him." And I'm like, 26, 28, 27, 28, I'm not quite sure. But I was a lot younger than I am now. And I'm like, you want me to go
in the spa
and ask Evander? Oh, yeah. He's just getting a service. So I went to the spa, and I knew the spa director. And I said, is Evander available? Like, can I ask him a question? She said, oh, yeah, he's back. He was getting a pedicure. So they took me back to where Evander was getting a pedicure, and he was sleeping in the chair. He was fully enjoying his pedicure, as anyone should, but I had to tap him on the shoulder and...
Excuse me, sir? Ask
him his question, because that's where his agent sent me. So, you have some odd situations, and you never know what's going to happen when in the event world. You wake up in the morning and you really think you have your day planned, and you learn very quickly that you don't. So
you're always in a pair of heels, but you bring a pair of flats. Always have a spare shirt, fresh something to change into.
Yes.
That's really interesting. I know that you get a chance to organize a lot of things with professional athletes, and we were chatting before the show about how you have to take like a professional approach. You can't quite be like all I can't play like celebrity, like starstruck because you are the professional in that setting. So how does your team respond in that setting? Do they also behave professionally, or are they kind of starstruck? That's the word I was looking for.
I think it's probably a mixture of both. And I think everybody reacts differently to different people. There's obviously some people that you either didn't even know who they were before you started working with or for or producing some sort of event. So you may have a completely business and professional approach to it, where if, someone came to you and said like XYZ is coming and you're like, oh my God, that's my favorite, then
selfie.
Yeah, you're going to have to keep an eye and rein them in and just make sure, choose the projects they work on and things like that. But for the most part, I think everyone's able to be a professional. And certainly, I mean, if the opportunity arises or they ask for you to take a picture with them or, sign something for you, those opportunities do come up. I mean, we all kind of have our
exciting,
things that are displayed in our offices and
memorabilia.
Exactly. But we try not to make it the forefront of as soon as they get off the bus that we're asking and taking pictures and things of that nature.
Well, thank you for sharing that funny story about Evander. I do want to get into a little bit of a personal side here. So you are a dog mom, and you've got 3 huskies, and I'm going to shout out their names. We got Sadie, and we've got Stoli and Dima. Is that what you said?
It is, yes. Dima.
And just had a gotcha day.
He did.
How exciting. So all of them are rescues?
In a sense, yes. Sadie, actually, she'll be 15 here in a few weeks. We're in enjoying our time with her while it lasts. She is a shepherd husky. She actually came from Nemacolin Woodlands Resort. Wow. I've had her since the beginning of my career out of college. She's been, I calculated the other day, someone asked me, she's lived in 7 houses with me since her time. But her parents were sled dogs. So one of the activities that Nemacolin Woodlands offers is sled dogging. And she was a result of 2 of the sled dogs. Wow. So they had given them away.
She's a literal musher?
She could be. She's never done it, but she, yes, in her heyday, she was fast as the wind and could definitely pull a sled. But and then we have Stoli, who is she just turned 8. She's white with blue eyes, and she's a pretty girl. She's if you see us out in public with her, she's probably the one that we have. She's the best behaved and just loves people, loves kids, really good with kids. But she came to us through a friend, someone that was keeping her as a part of a litter they had, but then they had some stuff come up that they couldn't keep her, and so we quote unquote rescued her from them versus her going to a rescue first. Yes. So we've had her for pretty much all of her life. And then Dima, who just had a gotcha day, we got him 5 years ago from the Greenbrier Humane Society. And we were not looking to add to our pack. We were good with 2.
What's one more?
Well, we say that.
Yeah.
I say that. My husband probably wouldn't agree. But I had posted a random picture online one day of Sadie and Stoli just hanging out in the house with me when I worked from home with the First Tee of West Virginia, and the director of the Humane Society commented on that photo. You can still go on and see it on my Facebook feed, and she commented and said, there's a husky that just came up to general population at the Humane Society. And I said, no, I didn't see him. She said they just took his pictures. He'll be up online later. Like, call me. And I went down later that night. I asked first, I said, is it a female? And they said, no, it's a male. And Sadie and Stoli are both females. I've only had female dogs. I said, okay, we can figure that out. I don't know how to, because male dogs and females, they're different. They are different. I'm like, okay, we can figure it out. I said, well, what color is he? And he said he's red. I was like, oh, okay. I have a dream of having a silver female. And I haven't had a silver female yet. And my love of huskies comes back from my childhood, going to football games with my grandparents. And one of the teams that we would go watch regularly was the Deer of Huskies. And they had both the costume husky on the sideline, and there was also a real husky, similar to the Bulldogs with Aga. So there was always a real husky on the sideline. So that's where my love of huskies comes from. And I really want a silver female. And when they said it was a red male, I was like, well, we're not checking any of the boxes here. But I still went down and saw him, and he stole my heart, and he came home with us 4 or 5 days later after he was getting over some injuries, so he had to stay for a little bit. But they knew we had a knowledge of the breed. They're not an easy breed to take care of, and that we had previous knowledge with the 2 that we had, and that we could give them a good home.
Don't they talk? I've seen videos like I love you.
They really don't. They don't sing too much. Stoli will get vocal, usually in the morning before she gets her food. She makes sure that we're going to feed her.
Yes. Don't forget me, Mom.
Yeah. She also loves her squeaky toys, so she'll grab a squeaky toy and
squeak it to death.
Yeah, she squeaks it really fast in the mornings. That's kind of an alarm, like it's time.
Do they ever get the squeaker out? My dog used to do that. She would destroy the animal to get the squeaker out, and I'm like, thank you for saving me the trouble, because that was so annoying. But she would literally dissect it to get the squeaker.
They've gone through their fair share of toys, but they have plenty. They are very spoiled.
So they wound up all getting along, obviously.
Oh, yes. They all get along.
Dima was welcomed into the pack.
Dima was welcomed in. Stoli and Dima play. They love to go for walks. And, they're best buds. Sadie's now in her older age. She's kind of slowed down, and they leave her out. She still polices them when they get too rough, or she doesn't like what they're doing. She'll step in, but
she's the senior.
She's very distinguished.
I had a little dachshund mix, and she was 16, and she went to heaven in January. But she was my bud all of her life, just like your Sadie. And also I had a shepherd mix, and I'm wondering if you had similar issues. She had hip dysplasia. She couldn't walk up the stairs anymore. Her hips were really just kind of failing her. When she, walked or cantered, she'd drag her back legs. And those are kind of some of the indicators as she got older.
Yep, that's where we are now. We carry her up and down the stairs.
I did the same thing. I said, as long as I'm physically able, I will carry you.
Yes. We carry her down in the morning, and then we try to keep her on the carpet spaces. We have
because the floor is
carpet runners throughout the house, so she can get to the back door into water bowls and things. So we're catering and hanging on, but we know that it's coming soon. And it's been about a year that we've been kind of leading into this, so we know that time is limited.
They're our best friends, and they look to us to help relieve them from that pain.
Yeah.
But we'll take a happier note here. I don't want to think about that. Ashley, tell me what you and Jamie like to do for fun, recreationally. I know you guys both have very busy roles, and you guys participate and pour into the community, both of you guys. So what do you like to do to kind of unwind, relax, or share quality time together?
Sure. Well, it's actually, it's interesting. Coming down to Georgia has kind of afforded us that time together. When his time in the golf industry, I mean, he was working on Saturdays, sometimes on Sundays. If we could both sneak a day in the week together, we would. But we've realized the other day we haven't taken a true vacation in quite some time, so we're working on that. A true getaway. Right. Not an add-on to a work trip or a something like we've been doing over the past few years. So working on that, but really getting down to Georgia, it freed his weekends up. Now being in the nonprofit space, he's kind of always on, but can take those weekends and we can go explore. Unfortunately, we got here in October of 2019, so we got through the holidays. Well, we moved in, painted, did some things around the house, hosted family for the holidays. Everyone wanted to see the new house and the new area and everything, hosted family. And then our tournament dates that year were April. So come the new year, I was in tournament mode and really planning, nonstop. So we weren't exploring and doing much, knowing that after the tournament, that would be kind of our chance to settle into the area. Well, then COVID hit. So we got locked down, and we joke. I mean, everyone down here was, oh my gosh, I have to stay in my house. I can't go anywhere. I have nowhere to go, all these things. And we just kind of laugh. We're like, this is what we're used to. It feels like we're in West Virginia. There wasn't a lot to do, and there wasn't too many places to go. The only difference was we owned our house and we could do house projects.
There you go.
So we stood in line with everyone at Home Depot and
DIY.
Bought the paint, did the things, all that fun stuff. So we're excited, now that everything is really kind of, opening up. This summer's kind of been really an exploration summer of getting out into, things. We're going to try and go peach picking this weekend.
Oh, that's exciting.
We haven't been yet, so
we're going to go.
Jaymore?
I live right up the street from Jaymore. Yeah. Or it's right up the street from me.
Okay. So we're going to...
Where do you guys live?
Technically we're in Auburn. We resonate more with either DeCule or Hamilton Mill. We're right near Little Mulberry Park. But we are in the Gwinnett side of Auburn, because I guess Auburn is a split county. Yeah. But we're on the Gwinnett side.
I highly recommend, if you like ice cream, they make their own. It's not really like a sherbet or a frozen yogurt.
I've seen it. It's kind of like a gelato, kind of like a sherbet.
So I will tell you a little hidden secret, which they'll tell you, but I asked. So the peach and the strawberry they make with their own produce, obviously. They have vanilla, but that's not too exciting, if you go to the farm. The pineapple, however, they do not make. And they would admit to you, because it sounds so attractive. I'm like, pineapple, like Dole Whip. I love
pineapples.
But they don't make it. It's still delicious,
I'm sure.
But if you're going there for something truly that they create, I highly recommend the swirl. You get the swirl. It's so good.
Like the peach and the strawberry?
Yeah, the peach and the strawberry.
Of the two they make?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, they do make some really good, like, fried pies and stuff. I kind of stay away from their, like, turnovers. Yeah. But, again, with all their fresh stuff. And then boiled peanuts and kettle corn. Those are my favorite things here. I'll have to tell you, boiled peanuts are an acquired taste. You made the funniest face. So you don't even like them at all?
We traveled when we lived in Pennsylvania. Our summer vacations were always in Myrtle Beach. And we had an RV that we pulled behind the truck, and we would stop at the roadside stands to get produce on the way into the campground. So we'd stop at this one and get the cantaloupe and the watermelon, and then you'd come up on another one that had corn or whatever they had, and eventually as we went along we would have fresh produce to have for the week. And My mom bought boiled peanuts once, and it was like, who would?
It's weird because they're warm.
Well, they're warm, they're soggy, they're just none of the textures that a peanut. And I eat peanut butter by the spoonful.
Mm-hmm.
I love peanut butter. But boiled peanut, I was like, this is nothing that a peanut needs to be associated with.
And they're kind of slimy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you say that because my first experience was similar on a road trip. My dad stopped at a roadside thing and he got him. He's like, oh, boiled peanuts. And I'm like, awkward. I tasted one, had the exact same reaction that you did. But as I grew older, I kind of developed a taste for them. I really enjoy salty things. So I like that just like nip of like sodium.
Now even being here in the South, I see them like in the produce section at Kroger.
They have them
cold
at gas stations.
Well, but they're like cold there. So now I'm like, well, what do you go home and heat them up? Like the whole thing is very odd to me. I guess that shows my northern roots.
Well, share with our listeners a little bit about what you do to remain balanced, you yourself, Ashley. Obviously, maybe physical fitness, what you enjoy reading, personal development, anything like that.
I do. Both. I am an avid Peloton rider.
Yeah.
I also strength train through a lot of the Beachbody programs.
Mm-hmm.
So,
aren't you a trainer?
I'm technically a coach, but I don't
practice,
work the business or anything. I use it solely for myself.
Very cool, though.
But yeah, so 45 minutes. I'm in afternoon, evening workout. So I did have all intentions today to get up and work out in the morning, but the storms at night over the past few nights have been a little rough with the pups. So I did take that extra 45 minutes this morning to sleep. Yeah. But yeah, I'll go home and it's even if I work out in the morning, I still feel like I need it after work.
Yes.
It's just a
decompression.
It's a decompression.
Mm-hmm.
The drive home doesn't do it for me. The drive home in Atlanta traffic is, some people.
My mind just keeps going.
That 30. They're like that 30 minutes is all I need to clear my head, and I'm like, my head is still racing. Like when I get home, I'm like, oh, I need a piece of paper to write everything down that I just thought about. So it's a good time for me. Usually anywhere from 30, 45 minutes, an hour max. And then we go on with the evening. On the weekends, we walk the pups. If it's not too hot, try to get out. Sometimes we have to get out really early or go later at night so the pavement's not too hot, but try to get them out as much as we can. They enjoy living in a neighborhood now that we can actually walk and we don't have to get in a car to go somewhere to then start the walk. That's always stressful. So, but then reading as well. I'm usually reading anywhere between 3 and 4 books at a time.
Wow.
Between, fun stuff, lighthearted, just, easy reads to professional development books.
What's something you're reading now?
Right. I'm in the midst of Think Again, which is talking about understanding what you don't know and recognizing what you don't know and how to open your mind up to rethinking about things that you think you do know.
Wow. And
I'm finding out it's a harder read. It takes some focus, and I've reread a lot of it.
That happens
going
to
back.
me too, yeah.
So that one's not one I take to the pool. But I'd finally finished Where the Crawdads Sing. Excited for the movie to come out this week. It's coming out soon, mid-July. I think it's coming out. What else have I recently read?
Mentioned that to me as well. Where the Crawdads Sing. I'll have to check that out.
That's a good one. What else am I reading?
Do you listen to any audiobooks or do you listen to any podcasts?
Outside
of this one, of course.
This one, of course, is on my desktop. But no, I don't. I physically like to have a book, and I'm a little bit of a book snob, and that I only like hardcover books. I will seek out to find the hardcover. I don't know why.
Because they're more resilient,
I think so. Probably because I'm pretty hard with them. I'll throw them in backpacks and purses. I do take them to the pool. I'm big on, if we go to the pool and it's a lighter day, I'll get in the pool, stay on the side and read. I can do that for hours.
Yeah.
So just anywhere they get splashed, they get wet, they this, that. So yeah, I do prefer the hardback.
Nice. And that's relaxing to just go sit by the pool and enjoy a good read.
Yeah.
Ashley, our time has flown by very quickly, but I want to ask if there's anything that you want to share with our listeners. First, I wanted to rewind really quickly, talk about mentorship. So you mentioned a mentor in your event and tournament world. Outside of work related, who would you maybe attribute to kind of helping pour into you and inform and mold the wonderful woman you are today?
There's probably, I think there's probably a lot of people. I mean, I could name my two main mentors that I've spoken about. One that got me from Pennsylvania to West Virginia, one that got me from West Virginia to Georgia, both whom are actually males. But I don't...
There's nothing wrong with that, by the way.
There isn't, but I think a lot of the stigma these days for
socially,
females is that, females need to mentor females and rise up, and unfortunately that's not my story. But
there's nothing wrong with that.
No. But no, I think there's a lot of people I've never thought about it.
Thought about it, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you yourself? I'm sure there's been some people on your team that have looked to you, that you've kind of helped mold, and you've seen them flourish and grow and succeed.
Yeah, we have, and I mentioned we have some new team members this week. Being a PGA Tour Champions event, we do see some turnover. It's not uncommon for us. A lot of
I wouldn't say seasonal, but
they're probably first and second career moves, and then from us, they're probably looking to go to the PGA Tour potentially to get on to a larger stage. Some not. Some this may be what they're looking for. I came from PGA Tour and love the PGA Tour Champions. We're the fun tour. Our guys are really. They've been doing this. Some of them have been playing golf for longer than I've been alive. So if you think about that, they're not here for the same, all of the same reasons that some of the guys on the PGA Tour, are out there. They're excited that they get to play 3 days of golf, every week. They love our fans. They love our pro-ams. They love interacting with them. They're great stewards of the game, and they're just excited that they're well-bodied and able to get up in the morning and play for a living still. So our tour's a little bit different. We do have a lot of fun.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Well, I will share with you, because he's a common friend of ours, a great friend and mentor to me, who is also a male, aside from the man sitting behind us running the board named Mike Salmond, is Randy Brunson.
Yes.
What a wonderful human being.
He is.
And he has just taught me so much through our friendship over the years. And I do have to thank your husband for introducing me to him. We had passed each other in the marketplace before, but we never really formed a relationship until Jamie kind of physically connected us. And it was destined to be, I will say.
I have some emails in my box from Randy this morning.
Oh, he's great. I love his little letters.
Yeah.
Very inspiring.
Yes.
If you take the time to read it, guys out there. Stewarding Family Wealth. Also, he hosts a podcast.
And he has the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, very
absolutely.
Cool. Well, Ashley, do you have anything that you'd like to share with our listeners before we wrap up?
Well, you cued me up that we were gonna talk about this, and I wrote a few things down. But I think the one thing that I kind of always come back to in talking about mentorship and new people coming onto my team, and sometimes they are a little newer to either Champions Tour or golf or what it may be, but is really to start where you are. Don't be afraid to be a beginner. We all start somewhere. And you need to own that you're a beginner, so that you're not overconfident or overpromising and then under-delivering. And just being upfront and honest with those that you're working with, that you may not have seen this before, or it may have been done differently, or those sorts of things. So
I like that. Don't be afraid to start where you are. Very nice. I've heard something kind of along that same vein, but grow where you are planted. You can
start where your feet are.
Start where your feet are. Very nice. Hey, just for anybody out there listening that might be curious to learn more about the tournament, where could they do so?
MitsubishiElectricClassic.com. We're also on Facebook, Instagram mainly, a little bit of Twitter.
And
mostly,
LinkedIn.
And then LinkedIn as well.
Very nice. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for joining us today. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Thank
for
you.
all of you out there listening, you can catch the live broadcast every Friday morning at 11:30 on BusinessRadioX.com. Select the Gwinnett Studio. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss a beat. If you find value in the series, we would love to hear from you. I've been your host, Amanda Pierce, and this is Celebrating Powerhouse Women on Business Radio X.